I try not to bottle things up. I've learned over the years. I used to just, let things go, just don't say anything. You don't want to start shit. Just let it go. And then I learned over the years, it does bubble up. It really does. And I have had to learn how to cope with that better.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open and honest about my mental health issues and the journey, whatever you want to call it, I've been on. And after having a suicide attempt in 2015 after a terrible breakup, I really kind of spent some time and kind of tried to figure out okay, what is wrong with my brain? Obviously there's something, wrong with my brain. And so basically trying to figure out how my brain works so I can kind of better deal with it.
Yeah.
So understanding my own brain. And that's been really helpful for me, understanding how I react to certain situations, understanding how I can cope and what my triggers might be. That's been really helpful, and kind of really reflecting on my whole life and realizing that I probably dealt with depression since I was a little kid and just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Thinking about times when I was a kid where I was probably really depressed and just didn't know it, and anxiety too. I realized I've been dealing with anxiety for my whole life and didn't realize that wasn't normal.
I think that's a lot more common too with a lot of folks that don't realize, it took me 20 some odd years just to realize that I was gaslighting myself with a lot of issues. And again, I went through the whole thing about blaming my parents for this and that. My folks divorced when I was 11, and it was right at puberty. So I'm starting, I'm all this stuff going on. And I really resented them for a little while, but really I was gaslighting myself on a lot of things and not realizing, anxiety is a thing. It's not just oh, you're just be better. That used to drive me nuts. The worst thing someone could tell somebody that's going through something is just get better, just be better.
Yeah.
What are you upset about?
Cheer up, calm down.
Calm down.
If only depression could be cured by just saying, "Oh, cheer up." Oh, okay.
Just smile.
Right.
Now, granted, I'm not going to take away from Willow Nightingale, smile anyways. I love her to pieces. Just watching her come to the ring makes me smile. But I think that's something very important. And it's interesting. You mentioned that your suicide attempt, and we can get to some real dark places if we do bottle stuff up. But what you said after that is so important too. That I want to say soul searching, but because that kind of oversimplifies it. But that self-discovery, and embracing who you are as a human. And for crying out loud, if I want to just scream to everybody, you're human. Give yourself a break. Good Lord. I think we're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we definitely are. And it took me a long time to kind of be able to recognize in myself, okay, this is how, I tend to behave in certain situations. And this is how I can possibly change that, or this is how I can deal with that better. Especially one of the biggest things in my life is, in relationships. Frankly, I've had terrible luck in relationships in the past. And, the last major relationship I was in before my current one led me to want to end myself. So it's, it was really bad. It was, and the bottling up kind of contributed to it, just kind of ignoring, just kind of saying oh, I'll get through this. So it's not that big of a deal until it is. And that's the thing. And, trying to just cutting out negative people in your life is a major thing too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do want to touch on toxic people, but I wanted to just point out too something to think about. and this is for anybody that, obviously, if anybody's contemplating suicide, please reach out to somebody, professionals. We have some friends at BetterHelp.com, one of our not official sponsors yet. That's in the works, but BetterHelp.com, or anybody, reach out to somebody and let them know what's going on. But we can gaslight ourselves into that spot where we just don't want to go on anymore. But what's tremendous is you never know what's right around the corner, or perhaps the nation's corner could be right around the corner. You know, think about like what you have now with your community, online community, your friends with Nation's Corner. You wouldn't have you wouldn't have had that had you been successful. But now look at where you are. You seem like, just interacting with you right now, you come across very confident, like happy with yourself. And again, I think a lot of that comes from, you almost have to go through that darkness to start to really peel that onion of who am I really, you know, and really find out and really fall in love with yourself. And you mentioned trouble with relationships. If my wife met me 10 years earlier, she would hate me. Like, because I had some, and I don't say growing up to do, because I'm never growing up, but I had to go through some changes with myself and realize how much was stuff that my parents put in my head, how much was my own just biases, and how much of it was like, how much I even had more self-hate than I realized. And you know, that voice in your head of, you can't do this, and when I stopped listening to those voices, things started happening, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I had to go through a lot of kind of growing up as well, just in the way I, you know, reacted in relationships, you know, the way I kind of treated myself in relationships, honestly, just not putting up with certain behaviors, not putting up with, you know, being treated a certain way. And that has helped build my confidence over the years. Definitely just saying, like, you know, I don't deserve to be treated that way. I'm better than that.
Absolutely. Catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.